Hello, all. This is Bearcat. I am going to be talking today about a store showdown I played in this weekend, as well as the Kylo Data Vault deck I've been working on for Star Wars Unlimited. So, a little bit about the deck. Um, as far as most of this deck goes, this is pretty standard for Kylo Data Vault stuff. The only real changes I've made were kind of a local meta call on it being main boarded more for control, and with like Bounty Hunter Crew and restocks on the main. Palp's Return is already great against control, but really it's here in the main board so that we can cheat out Snoke on 6. With Kylo's ability, you can self discard the Snoke, recur it with Palp's Return. But yeah, that's the list. In the sideboard, really just more control stuff with Relentless. 2 more Bounty Hunter Crews, which you'll see in a minute. It didn't end up playing very many control games, so all this control tech ended up not really being helpful. The other 2 hyperspace disasters in the sideboard for space aggro, and then the other super laser blast in the sideboard, which almost always came in, and then also a third copy of Top Target, which almost always came in, and then Eager Escort Fighter for pesky ships like, you know, anything that your opponent's putting a Chewie on or Lurking TIE Phantom, etc. So round 1 of the Swiss, I won 2-0 against a Dryden Voss blue deck. This was a pretty smooth win for me. The only real This Dryden player's deck was pretty standard. The only real odd card that he plays that I don't always see is Director Krennic, and then in one of the 9-drop slots. I think there are much better 9-drop options available in Blue Green Villainy than Director Krennic. It's not that it's a bad card, but you could be playing so many other things that have, immediate board impact, like an Avenger, or just a better unit like for utility, like a Relentless. So this went pretty smoothly, not really many hiccups. I don't play a lot of early units. This deck was kind of built to ambush into early units and get board control, but since I didn't play very many early units, that ended up not working very well for him, which this player did make top 8. I kind of wish I played him in the quarterfinal instead of who I played, but I'll talk about that later. Round 2 Swiss was against a Han 2 Colossus player. This player is a very strong player, and so I kind of felt not great into this matchup. The first game, his deck kind of crapped on him with draws, that one was a pretty runaway game. But then he won the other 2. We joked that we had 1 good game in the middle and 2 non-games because the third game my deck kind of crapped on me and it was just barely even a game. So the only real card that he ran that was weird is Profundity. Not that it's a bad card, it's just non-standard. And this really helped him win the matchup, actually, because I didn't draw Pershing in the games where he had a Profundity. So one thing about Kylo is that you have a lot of card options, but your hand size may not be actually that big because you're discarding 1 to draw 1 off Kylo. So I ended up having to discard a lot of units. And even if I removed the Profundity, I had to do it again. And it was gonna end up being bad for me. Round 3 of the Swiss was a 2-0 against an Obi-Wan Kenobi Virgin's Temple deck. This was really a very standard Obi-Wan Virgin's Temple deck. There wasn't much standout here. They did run some interesting cards like Jedi Trials and some other stuff, but it ended up just going very smoothly for me. Round four of the Swiss, and this was only a 4 round Swiss. I played against a blonde Sabine, a yellow cunning Sabine deck. This deck was almost perfectly engineered to beat me in every single way. I did put up a really good fight. I played this player in the quarterfinal. I'll talk about it in a second, but it was a 1-2 both times, even though he won both times. Just this deck can win quick or it can grind with Sabine pings, and I didn't really draw my healing in the games that he won, and so he had, triple four cause me on almost every single game. Sneak attacked K2's out to do, more damage to my base I couldn't do anything about. And then BD on his Sabine flip turn and Ketsu's on, early turns, which both give Saboteur, which this deck kind of hates. And so he was able to get around my Sentinels and stuff really easily as well, which ended up just being bad for me. In this, well, I'll talk about that in a second. So the top 8 cut, I ended up 6th seed into top 8 cut, 2-2. I was the top 2-2, a game record of 6-4-0. And we only had one undefeated player, was this Piet player, going into top 8, and his draw was an ID with who he played in round 4. Feel how you feel about intentional drawing. It is what it is. But a lot of pretty off-meta stuff here. There was a Dryden the Dryden I played earlier, who was an 8th seed. The Poe Dameron deck that I ended up playing against made it 7th seed. The Obi-Wan I played was 5th seed. There's a Dedramiro blue hard control deck that was 4th seed going into top 8. The Sabine I played was seed 3, and the Han Colossus was seed 2, and then that undefeated Pia was seed 1. So this was the quarterfinal where I struck out. The Sabine won 1-3 again. It went about the same way as in the Swiss. There was a particularly frustrating moment where the Sabine player had a K2 on board, attacked me with it, then sneak attacked another K2, defeated the original K2 to deal 3 to my base, and then heroic sacked the K2 to do 6 more, and then that K2 damage as well, and then a Sabine ping on that turn, which was enough to kill me from, the high teens. So it was just, this deck was just doing, absurd things that I couldn't do anything about. So that's how that went. So I struck out in the quarterfinal. And then the final record was 2-3-0, 7-6-0. And the Han2 Colossus player ended up taking this down. So that is about it. I just wanted to talk about my record and kind of how my experience went. I am having so much fun with this deck. I really think it's the best blue-green villain shell in the meta right now. Been a previous Kira player, but I don't think she's very well positioned right now. The built-in card filtering is so nice. It helps you dig for ramp and just other things that you're wanting. And then just having a massive Sentinel to flip on 7 is very helpful in a lot of matchups. So that's about it. I will see you all next time.